What if you discovered that 90 minutes of your life had been cut out of memory, as if they never belonged to you? Imagine realizing that something happened in the dark, and your mind refused to let you keep it. Imagine sitting in your car on a lonely road at night, feeling a strange burn on your skin, and no clear memory at all. There is only a gap, a silence, a stretch of time that should exist, but does not. Now imagine that the missing time does not stay missing forever. Tonight, we travel into the Dandenong Ranges of Victoria, Australia, to examine one of the country's most disturbing UFO encounter claims. This is the Kelly Cahill case, remembered for far more than a strange light in the sky. It is still discussed because of what allegedly followed. Missing time, physical marks, medical issues, and multiple witnesses. There were also descriptions of tall, dark beings, and a sense that the encounter did not end on the road. Whether one sees it as extraterrestrial, psychological, spiritual, or something harder to define, the case has endured for decades. It leaves behind more than a sighting. It leaves behind the feeling of intrusion. The evening of August 8th, 1993, did not begin with fear. Kelly Cahill and her husband Andrew had been visiting friends for a barbecue. It had been a normal evening, ending in a tired drive home. The air was cool, the road damp, and light rain came and went. By the time they got back into their car, they were expecting home, not mystery, terror, or lost time. That is part of what gives this story its power. Nothing about the setup feels theatrical. Just a married couple driving through the dark along a familiar road. If something truly happened that night, it happened in the middle of ordinary life. As they drove along Belgrave Hallam Road, the darkness was broken only by moonlight and passing headlights. Then Kelly noticed something ahead. At first, she thought it looked like a blimp or a distant object. But as they slowed and looked harder, the thing became impossible to ignore. According to Kelly's later account, it appeared massive and disc-shaped above the landscape. It glowed with an intense orange light against the darkness. Kelly also claimed she could see tall, dark figures behind what looked like windows or openings in the craft. Strange lights are one thing. Figures inside the thing changed the story immediately. Suddenly, the question is not just what was in the sky. It becomes who was inside it. Kelly reportedly pointed the figures out to Andrew, and then the object vanished, not drifted away, not retreated slowly. It vanished. The road remained. The trees remained. The night remained. But the thing that should still have been there was suddenly gone. The Cahills kept driving. But if later accounts are true, the real encounter had not yet begun. A short distance ahead, they noticed another light. This one was different. It appeared more like a wall of brilliant white radiance across the road and field beyond. Kelly raised her hand to shield her eyes. Their vehicle drove toward it, then into it, and then memory failed. That is the central fracture in the story. According to Kelly, the next coherent moment felt less like driving and more like waking from confusion. She became aware of dark trees outside the car, the road beneath them, and Andrew at the wheel. The night had resumed, but the atmosphere inside the car had changed. It no longer felt like two people returning from a pleasant evening. When Kelly asked whether she had fallen asleep, Andrew could not give a clear answer. He seemed unsettled too. There was said to be a strange odor in the vehicle. Kelly felt a burning sensation on her body. She also carried a fragment of something visual, a broken image of red lights moving toward her. Not a full memory, more like debris rising from deep water. Only when they reached home did the practical impossibility reveal itself. They were 90 minutes late. That detail changed everything. If they had only seen something odd in the sky, that would already have been unsettling. But losing an hour and a half completely, without explanation, suggested something far more invasive. Something happened in that gap. Something occupied it. Something took it. The next morning, missing time was joined by what the witnesses believed was physical evidence. Kelly noticed a red triangular mark below her navel. It was small but striking, precise enough to feel unnatural to her. That shape became one of the most famous details of the case. The days that followed made the event even harder for Kelly to ignore. She suffered severe headaches and unusual menstrual bleeding that was not due at that time. The symptoms became serious enough to send her for medical attention. Doctors found signs of infection in her womb, but no clear explanation that satisfied her. Tests were performed. Pain persisted. Antibiotics were eventually used. Over time, the symptoms eased, but the experience did not become less strange. If anything, the physical aftermath deepened the dread. For a time, the missing 90 minutes remained missing. But according to Kelly's later account, that did not last. Memory began to return in fragments, not all at once, and not in a clean sequence. It came back in flashes, sensations, and broken impressions. This is where the case moves from an unexplained sighting into abduction territory. Kelly came to believe that after the white light, they had not simply continued driving. Instead, they had stopped near a field where a massive craft was waiting low over open ground. In her recollection, the object was enormous, roughly as tall as a 3-story building. According to her recovered memory, the Cahills were not alone there. Other vehicles had stopped. Other people had seen what was in the field. This alleged presence of additional witnesses became one of the strongest reasons the case endured. A lone witness can be doubted in countless ways. Multiple witnesses feel harder to dismiss. Kelly described the atmosphere in the field as growing heavier as events unfolded. The place was not simply illuminated. It felt saturated by some force pressing on body and mind. She later spoke of a sensation like dense low-frequency waves moving through her. It was almost a physical pressure, and it produced not wonder, but dread. Some UFO reports describe awe or fascination. This one leans hard into fear. The encounter is not presented as enlightening. It is presented as violating. Then came the beings. According to Kelly's account, figures emerged beneath the craft. They were tall, dark, and shadow-like. Their eyes were remembered as large and red. Whether one takes that description literally or skeptically, it is easy to understand why it endured. Red eyes in darkness go straight to primitive fear. The beings moved toward the witnesses. Not in an ordinary human way, but with a smoothness Kelly remembered as profoundly wrong. Kelly claimed that one group of these entities came directly toward her and Andrew. Then, without warning, she felt what she later described as an electric blow. It struck her in the solar plexus. The sensation was overwhelming. She lost her breath. She fell. Nausea surged through her. The field disappeared. The encounter shifted from visual terror to bodily collapse. If believed, it suggests physical contact, incapacitation, and control. That change in tone is one reason the case remains controversial. A light in the sky can be debated casually. A claim involving beings, force, trauma, and missing time cannot. Kelly later said that during the darkness that followed, she became aware of voices and of Andrew's anger. In some versions, she heard him shouting at the entities, demanding that they leave them alone. He reportedly asked why they had hurt her if they meant no harm. That detail gives the story emotional weight. It is no longer just her terror. It becomes a shared moment of helpless resistance. She also claimed she sensed examination, a feeling of being handled or inspected by unseen presences. Then, just as suddenly as everything had gone wrong, the scene was over. They were back in the car, driving, silent, confused. The field was behind them. The road had resumed, but the normal world had not yet returned. In the hours and days after such an event, the greatest torment may not be fear alone. It may be uncertainty. Did it happen? Did it partly happen? Did something ordinary trigger an extraordinary interpretation? Did memory reconstruct the event inaccurately later? Or did it return because shock had buried it? The Kelly Cahill case survives because those questions remain unanswered. One reason the case became especially well known is the investigation that reportedly followed. Researchers associated with the case treated the alleged landing site seriously. They reportedly divided the field into sections, took samples, measured anomalies, and documented what they could. Among the claims linked to that investigation was the discovery of a large triangular impression, or anomaly. There were also claims involving pyrene, a chemical compound later described as difficult to explain there. Whether such findings prove anything extraordinary is another matter entirely. But within the life of the case, they gave the story physical language. Soil, shape, residue, measurement. Once a mystery acquires physical vocabulary, it becomes harder to dismiss emotionally. And yet, for all the attention given to the field, the most disturbing part of the story comes afterward. According to Kelly, the encounter did not end on the road. It came home. That is what makes the case linger. For months after the event, she reportedly experienced further episodes involving one of the entities. These were said to happen in that vulnerable territory between sleep and waking, in the home, in the bedroom, where fear is most intimate. She claimed that a hooded or cloaked being would appear near her bedside. That image became one of the most haunting in the case. Not a craft over a field, but a figure in a dark room. From a skeptical point of view, such experiences can be read as sleep paralysis or trauma. From a paranormal point of view, they suggest continued contact. The reason this part of the story remains so potent is that it touches a universal fear that whatever happened outside can cross the threshold and enter the home. The Cahill household was also reportedly affected by bizarre electrical disturbances. Lights and appliances allegedly switched on without explanation. Kelly claimed to receive static shocks from materials that should not normally behave that way. One dramatic detail states that a car engine started on its own. Whether every one of these events occurred exactly as remembered, or some were misperceived later, they became part of the story's atmosphere. The mystery had moved beyond one night. It had become a presence. Andrew's role in the aftermath is also significant. In many retellings, he is described as deeply affected, but reluctant to speak. That silence strengthens the story for some people. Later accounts suggest that Andrew eventually admitted he remembered more than he first allowed. They also suggest the event took a serious psychological toll on him. In mystery cases, silence often becomes a shadow around what has already been said. Then came the other witnesses. This is where the case becomes harder to discuss casually. According to the most common version of events, the people in the other vehicles later came forward. Their accounts reportedly included descriptions of the craft, the beings, the missing time, and sometimes similar bodily marks. Much attention has also been given to the reported similarities between witness drawings, a circular object, windows or structured sections, tall dark figures, a threatening atmosphere. 3 of the other witnesses were also said to have found similar triangular marks near the navel. In some accounts, the female witnesses also reported gynecological symptoms resembling Kelly's. These overlaps became central to the mystery's staying power. If all of that is true exactly as claimed, the case becomes difficult to dismiss neatly. If, On the other hand, witnesses influenced one another, or memory changed through retelling. The similarities become less decisive. That tension is part of what keeps the case alive. Believers see reinforcement. Skeptics see contamination of testimony. The case survives because both sides can point to something compelling within it. Some versions of the witnesses' recollections go even further. They suggest that one or more of them remembered waking in a strange room, on a table. In these accounts, a cloaked entity was examining them. This is classic abduction imagery, and because of that, it must be handled carefully. It is one of the most dramatic parts of the lore, but also one of the easiest for critics to attack. Local residents reportedly seeing orange lights that same night adds one more layer. Such reports do not confirm abduction. They do not confirm beings. But they help support the broadest part of the case, that something unusual may have been visible that night. The farther one moves beyond that, into missing time, entities, marks, and later visitations, the more controversy enters. That is why the Kelly Cahill case sits in such an uncomfortable place. It is too elaborate to dismiss completely as a simple light in the sky. But it is also too dependent on recollection to be treated as settled fact. It lives in the space between testimony and proof. For some, the entities described by Kelly and the others seemed not merely extraterrestrial, but actively malevolent. Their appearance, the fear they generated, the red eyes, and the aftermath in the home encouraged spiritual interpretations. Some later commentators suggested the beings were demonic. Others linked the case to broader shadow figure lore. That kind of interpretation is powerful, but dangerous if stated too confidently. The true force of the Cahill case lies in the fact that it resists a clean label. If you force it too firmly into aliens, you flatten it. If you force it too firmly into demons, you flatten it in another direction. The real horror is uncertainty. Why was there missing time if the physical symptoms were unrelated? Why did they appear when they did? If the marks were coincidental, why did they feel so meaningful to the witnesses? If the field evidence was ordinary, why did it become attached to the story so strongly? If the household disturbances were stress-induced, why did they feel like continuation rather than coincidence? And if the entire experience was exactly what the witnesses believed it to be, then what does that mean for every ordinary road at night? The emotional center of the story may actually be the marriage itself. Kelly and Andrew are not remembered as people chasing an encounter. They are remembered as people who say something forced itself into their life. That distinction matters. The Cahill case is unsettling because it imagines the unknown as domestic interruption. It is not a distant frontier. It is something that entered normal life. There is also the matter of memory itself. Many frightening paranormal stories depend on memory returning later, and memory is fragile, suggestible, and vulnerable to distortion. But memory is also how trauma often behaves. The Cahill case sits exactly on that knife edge. One side sees trauma. The other sees unstable reconstruction. If one strips away the labels and looks only at the emotional anatomy of the case, what remains is human. A couple sees something impossible. Time breaks. The body reacts. Fear enters the home. Sleep is no longer safe. The relationship changes. Strangers report similar things. Years pass, and the event refuses to die. That structure would be compelling even without UFO language. It is the structure of violation and aftermath, of a life divided into before and after. Such stories endure not only because people want to believe, but because uncertainty is harder to resolve than belief. A solved mystery fades. An unresolved one keeps returning. especially when it appears to involve witness testimony, bodily consequences, and shared recollection. The Kelly Cahill case remains alive, not because everyone accepts it. It remains alive because not everyone can dismiss it equally. If the Cahills fabricated everything, one must explain how the story developed such structure and overlap. If they misunderstood a more ordinary event, one must explain why the aftermath felt so invasive. If they experienced something psychological, one must explain the physical and multi-witness dimensions that followed. And if they truly encountered something outside conventional explanation, then the implications are unsettling. Because in that version of the story, the universe is not only stranger than we think, it is nearer, closer to the road, closer to the body, closer to the bed at night. The Kelly Cahill case remains one of Australia's most haunting claims because it combines so many things that already frighten people. A lonely road, an enormous light, missing time, bodily marks, medical distress, figures with red eyes, repeated visitations, other witnesses stepping forward, and the possibility that what happened in the field was only one layer of a larger event. It is not easy to prove. It is not easy to disprove. And that is why it lingers. Some mysteries remain outside us, but others move inward. They settle into nerves, sleep, relationships, and memory. This case belongs to that second category. It is not just about what may have been seen. It is about what may have been done, what may have been taken, and what may have followed the witnesses home. Whether the truth behind the Kelly Cahill case is extraterrestrial, psychological, spiritual, symbolic, or some mixture we still do not understand, one fact remains. For those who lived through it, this was not a harmless curiosity. It was remembered, or later reconstructed, as a rupture. A night when time opened, fear entered, and ordinary people came away changed. And perhaps that is the detail that matters most, not the labels, not even the final theory, but the possibility that somewhere on a wet Australian road, 6 strangers may have looked into the same impossible darkness and seen something looking back. And if the witnesses were even partly right, then the most disturbing part is not that something strange was in the sky. It is that it may have come down